Good morning and welcome. I'm Chris Stewart. I'll be your MC this morning. I just ask that you silence your phones. We're going to move quickly through the agenda this morning. We actually have 4 speakers. We have one that we're going to connect from Bangkok at 9 p.m. Bangkok time here. Hopefully the comms work out well. I see Nicole there. We'll put her on the big screen here in a minute. There's no reason for you to furiously take notes today. There will be copies of the presentation posted on the BBG website here in the next day, and there will also be a copy of the video posted as well. We're pleased to be partnered with the Broadcasting Board of Governors as we continue our monthly research series on findings from various markets around the world. This effort is in support of BBG's mission to inform, engage, and connect people around the world in support of democracy. Today we're going to take a look at recent research for Cambodia. We will go dark in the month of December. We will not have an event. It's hard to do events here in DC in December, so we'll pick back up on January 15th. And we're still working out the actual geography that we'll cover in January, so stay tuned on that. Our first speaker this morning is Mr. Bruce Sherman, who's the Director of the Office of Strategy and Development at BBG. He's going to give us some insights on marketing and the opportunity overall for Cambodia. Bruce?
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for coming out today. Just 2 or 3 points to start, and I'll turn it over to our experts to brief on the research. First of all, I second Chris's point about the partnership we have between BBG and Gallup. We're very pleased to be partnered with Gallup. We're pleased to be part of these public briefings. We do these public briefings for a very simple reason. We are taxpayer funded, obviously, as a government entity, and we want to share with the public, to the extent that we can, insights that come from our research for the benefit of the public. We know that there are different sectors in Washington and those around the country, around the world, who can access this webcast online that have an interest in the countries that we're broadcasting to, that want to know more about what's happening in those countries. And so we take advantage of this opportunity with Gallup to share with you those insights. We believe profoundly in a very simple proposition that we cannot reach audiences we don't understand. And so for many, many years, the BBG has been supporting a very robust market and audience research program. And you will see evidence of that here today. When we do these briefings, we don't talk about our performance, the performance of the Voice of America and Radio Free Asia, in this case in Cambodia, because we want to focus on the general media environment and the political environment that we're operating in. We think that is of greatest interest to the general public. However, I am pleased to say that we do very well in Cambodia. Just this past Monday, the BBG announced our new global audience estimate for 2014. It's 215 million. And I'm very pleased to say that nearly 3 million of that comes out of Cambodia. So there is a tribute here to pay to our Cambodian broadcasters, and Chris Deckard, who heads the Khmer service at the Voice of America, is with us today. Chris, welcome. Glad you're here. For those of you that are interested in learning more about our global audience, the composition of that audience, and a lot of other information about how we calculate global audiences, go to bbg.gov and you will see all the information about the global audience estimate there. Again, welcome everybody here today. We look forward to a great presentation, and we look forward to taking your questions. Chris?
Thanks, Bruce. Our first presenter this morning will be Ms. Nicole Narath, who is a regional research director for Gallup in Asia Pacific. She works the field work and many of the operations for the BBG surveys we do in the region, and also our World Poll Initiative. Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. We go on big screen.
Good.
Over to you then.
Okay, thanks very much, Chris. Hi, good morning. So I'm going to introduce to you some World Poll data, some findings from Cambodia, and we've been collecting data there for several years now. I'll be showing you data from 2007 to the present, as well as some data from around the region. And primarily, we're going to look at the quality of life in Cambodia and and in the context of how Cambodians are rating their own lives today and in the future, as well as some things that could be impacting their life evaluations, such as jobs, access to food and shelter, corruption, and security. And then lastly, we'll look at some data related to media freedom in the country. So Cambodia, it is a poor country. In fact, it's one of the poorest in the world. And GDP per capita is $1,000, and that really makes it the lowest within Southeast Asia. 20% of the population lives below the poverty line, according to the World Bank. So with that as context, it's really not surprising to find that when we ask Cambodians to rate their lives, they are rating their lives currently right now the lowest in all of Southeast Asia. So here you can see on this graph that we have a question where we ask them to imagine a ladder with steps numbered from 0 at the bottom to 10 at the top. And then we ask them to place their lives somewhere on that ladder where they think they stand currently. Overall, they're averaging at 3.88, which is, much lower than what we're seeing throughout the rest of Southeast Asia. That's in the dark green column there. Then we ask them to think about their lives 5 years from now and where they think they're going to be. And again, it's quite low compared to the other countries in the region at 6.25. But one thing that's really hopeful that I see in this data is the step from where they are now to where they think they'll be in 5 years is actually the greatest in Cambodia among all of these countries. So even, in Singapore, you might think, wow, it's quite high. They're always at a 7 or higher, but they're not showing as much hope for their future as what we're really seeing in Cambodia, where that step is like more than two steps from where they are now to where they would be in the future. Here we're showing these life rating numbers over time in Cambodia. So you can see starting in 2007 to about 2012 that the gap between where they are now and where they think they'll be in 5 years is quite stable. It's slightly more than one step up they think that they'll be. But starting in 2013 and definitely this year in 2014, that gap became much, much larger. Several things could be contributing to that. For example, poverty reduction. The World Bank says that Cambodia is one of the best performers in poverty reduction in the world. Also jobs, there's been a big increase in jobs recently in Cambodia in the past few years. And just a more pervasiveness of internet connectivity, mobile communication, and social media. So when they're thinking about their lives in the future, it's possible that the job situation could be impacting how they see their lives. You can see starting in 2007, when we started asking this question to think about the job situation in the city or area where you live, do you feel that is a good time now or a bad time to find a job? And only 33% of Cambodians said that it was a good time to find a job in 2007. But if we can see that it's gone up steadily over time, and now it's nearly double that in 2014 at 65%. So the Cambodian economy really has been doing well. Since 2010, it's been averaging a growth rate of near 7%. This is driven by agriculture, construction boom, the garment industry, and the tourism sector. Garment industry is a huge employer in Cambodia with nearly 500,000 people, mostly women working in the garment sector, and that accounts for 80% of Cambodian exports. Also, tourism has expanded dramatically over the years. It's gone up 11-fold since 1998. But one thing to note, there are a few things going on in the region that might impact how they feel about their jobs, namely the coup that happened here in Thailand in May. I've heard several things about the impact from the coup in Thailand that actually could spill over into Cambodia. One of which is when I went to Cambodia this year, they told me that their biggest concern about the coup here in Thailand is what it would do to the tourism industry in their own country. Many people that go to Thailand on vacation will make a side trip to Cambodia. They don't go to Cambodia in and of itself, like on its own. It's kind of a side trip from Thailand. So if people are stopping to come to Thailand, they're certainly going to stop coming to Cambodia. So that would definitely hurt their tourism industry. Also, a few months ago, some upwards of 400,000 illegal Cambodian workers who were living here and working in Thailand. Now, keep in mind, that's like the size of the entire garment factory workforce. they were sent back to Cambodia, and they have no jobs and no money. So, you know, what's going to happen with them now in the workforce looking for work? I've heard anecdotally that their presence really is becoming a drain on the economy and just the general outlook and the mood in the country. So it will be interesting to see how this impacts those numbers for next year. Okay, so when Cambodians are rating their current lives, there definitely are several things that could be impacting that low score of the 3.88 that we saw. Most notably, Cambodians really have a hard time meeting just their basic needs. So we have asked over time if there have been times in the past 12 months when you did not have enough money to buy food or the shelter that you or your family needed. And this has definitely gone up over the years, and it peaked last year at more than 70% of the population. More than 70% saying they did not have enough money for food or shelter at some time in the last year. It's gone down slightly, but in 2014, but not very much, still roughly 70%. Food, I'm always hearing that the prices are going up and it's just too expensive for people to meet that need. Inflation peaked, it was more than 20% in 2008, and it really has come down since then. It's about 3% now, according to the World Bank. However, I just don't know that people have really recovered since then and are able to afford food at those prices. And shelter is a common, constant problem in Cambodia. First of all, for those who can afford proper actual housing, it's just skyrocketing the prices. Last year, housing prices went up more than 20% just within 1 year. And then there's also the problem of many people don't own their own land, and this is really a holdover from the Khmer Rouge when they abolished land ownership countrywide. The government is trying to put into place now some laws, and the first law in 1992 was passed, which is trying to give people ownership or title of their land, but it's not something that's happening widespread and uniformly yet, so it's still a lot of people are without their own land. Another thing that could be impacting how they're rating their lives is corruption. We ask if they think that corruption is widespread throughout the government and the businesses in their country, and this has consistently been pretty high, around